let's look at the concept of the plant-based prawn, where we have managed to achieve really a remarkable authentic texture and flavor, which Glyn will serve with the plant-based sauce, which is clean label and suitable for vegans. But before we go to Glyn, I'm going to ask you, Danielle, the meat analog industry really has advanced greatly in the last 5 to 10 years. Lots of innovations been in the marketplace. What would you say now is perhaps one of the biggest challenges for formulators?
So within the last 2 years especially, we can see a lot happening with innovation within the meat analog industry. So a lot of people are looking maybe 1 or 2 years ahead in terms of innovation. So sometimes a product that's being launched on shelf can be seem to be a little behind the times because innovation is pushing on so much. So what we're seeing is a big push away from the sausage and burgers, you know, and people are going down the route of looking for muscle texture. So they're looking for that chicken breast that can compete with a normal chicken breast. You know, they're looking for fish fillet. They're also looking for steak texture. So we're really focusing on the longer, more fibrous textures and not just something like your sausage or your burger. So there's a really, really big push in innovation, and that has to cover a lot of different materials, which we'll talk about later on.
Fabulous, yeah. And hence why we have chosen the fish alternative or prawns alternatives.
Absolutely.
Glyn?
I have one here. This is obviously from a process perspective, this is all key ingredients that you've mentioned are all blended together and then deposited into a prawn shaped mold and then just set. And as you can see, the colour and the visual of this looks pretty realistic when you compare that to a real prawn.
Yeah, yeah. It's the colour really that, you know, really is remarkable.
The smell in there as well, which is, you know, you've got those elements, the kind of fish flavourings in there as well.
Yeah.
So which give you that authentic kind of visual smell.
Looks great, and we'll taste it later. Yeah, Danielle, what are the key ingredients that were used to really develop this recipe?
Yeah, so this is a very bespoke recipe. So I suppose the key thing is texture with this product, you know. So to deliver on that texture, there's a real synergy between proteins, hydrocolloids, and fibers. So this formulation especially, you know, we've got your plant-based proteins in there. So you've got your it's faba bean concentrate in this one. You've also got some fibers, so bamboo and pea, to really support with that texture as well. And then there's a stabilizer system in here as well. So it's a real kind of bespoke stabilizer system to give that firm texture that we expect from something like a prawn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we did quickly touch on the really remarkable color here. Danielle, which exact ingredient has been used here?
So in this product itself, we have calcium sulfate. So calcium sulfate has a kind of dual functionality within this. So yes, it helps with the firming, but it also gives an opacity to the product as well. So, you know, we don't want to have anything that's kind of off color. We want to have that nice white, solid, opaque color, which works very well. One thing I will say, these have been hand painted for demonstration purposes, but that doesn't mean to say that this cannot be done on a larger scale, you know. So for this, but they look really realistic. So we're delighted with them.
Yeah. I hope you guys can actually see it through the camera. I appreciate it's difficult, but yeah, they look really authentic, just like the real thing. And we will be serving it with the cocktail sauce.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem. So here we have in front of me all the key components that make the cocktail sauce. We have our kind of flavorings. So we have our Dijon mustard, tomato sauce, a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of vinegar. We have our starches here, so they're slurried in the oil. We have our kind of proteins, which help thicken and bind and give you the mouthfeel. We will go through the process of how it's made. So basically we slurry together the key functional ingredients, add those to the process, to the mixer, give those a mix for 6 minutes on 90 degrees. Then we slurry our starches with the oil so they incorporate really easily, and then whisk those into the Thermomix, and they're just whisked basically for about 1 minute. We then add our flavorings, and then that's it. That's our cocktail sauce. But the magic of TV, we have one I've made earlier. So as you can see, it's finished. It looks great. It's chilled. It looks good. You know, it's got that lovely viscosity, that oiliness that you'd expect from a mayo-based, but this is obviously vegan, with our flavourings in there as well. So yeah, quite smooth, quite rich, lots of body to that as well. Okay.
Yeah. And indeed, yeah, it does look great, and we know that it's going to taste great as well. Danielle, usually the challenge is to replace egg in a vegan formulation. Talk us through from a functional ingredient point of view.
So historically, modified starches would be used, especially for the emulsification, whenever you're replacing eggs in mayos or dressings or whatever it may be. Now we've gone down a different route. We've used faba bean concentrate, so even pea concentrate, you know, it could be anything at all. Those proteins will do the same job as egg. So they'll bind the oil, they'll bind the water, and they'll make that a really stable product. So this recipe has 34% oil in it, but as you can see, that's really stable in the recipe.
Indeed,
using the proteins.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. And Glyn, how have you found actually creating it? Because it's still quite a lot of water in this,
Absolutely.
if it's 34% of
Well, you're
oil.
right, yeah, and obviously normally about 60% for a full fat mayo with obviously use egg yolk as the emulsifier as well.
Yeah.
But with this, you're still gaining that lovely kind of viscosity, which it works really well. There's no detriment to flavour. I think, in fact, I think it's a cleaner flavour.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So I think sometimes when you have too much oil, you can just feel that too much from the mouthfeel. So, but it's absolutely great.
Brilliant. And is it suitable to be used in a high shear environment?
Yeah, so they're suitable for high shear and high temperature. So the starches and the proteins within the recipe, so the functional ingredients within this recipe, we've chosen those especially to be able to withstand those conditions. So we have an instant starch in here, which is freeze-thaw stable and very process tolerant. We also have a co-texturizing starch, which is just adding to the viscosity. So we're letting the instant starch do the work with the water binding and the stabilization, and then the co-texturizing starch is just giving us that really nice, creamy, indulgent mouthfeel.
Great, yeah. Glyn, just quickly, how did you find substituting such a high amount of oil in this recipe?
I think it works really well. I think when you look at a real mayo, which is egg yolk based and obviously 60% oil rather than, I think it was 34%. You still get the richness, that lovely viscosity, the creaminess almost. And I think you do get a cleaner kind of mouthfeel as well, which I think is really nice. You get that lovely acidity, lactic note, which works really well. So yeah, great job.
Excellent. I think now it's time for you to dish up our starter. Yeah?
No problem.
Let's do that.
Thank you. Okay, so now we come to the assembly of the vegan cocktail, prawn cocktail. Again, it's very classic. So with this one, we have our avocado, which goes in first. Very simple. Then we'll put in there our chiffonade of gem lettuce. Okay. Very simple. Then our lovely vegan prawns. As you can see, the texture there is perfect. We've just diced these up for today, just so you can see, you know, just so they can eat a little bit easier. Okay. Then we have in a piping bag, we have our lovely vegan cocktail sauce, which we're just going to sort of just pipe on top. As you can see, that lovely viscosity, see how it kind of just ripples over the top. Nice and thick, not too runny. And then just finish that. Classically, finish that off with just a little bit of cayenne pepper on top, just to give it a little bit of piquancy. Just move that off there. And then finish off with the old classic lemon just on the side of the glass. And that's it. That's our cocktail. As you can see, very simple, very classic, but looks pretty authentic. So that's the final vegan prawn cocktail. Would you like to try?
Beautiful, of course.
There you go, ladies.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Enjoy.
How delicious. You can see how glossy that sauce is now, Glyn.
Yes.
Works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Okay,
Really
going
good.
for it. Oh, wow. The texture of that prawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like we said, you know, it really is authentic. Got a good bite, good bounce back, just like you would expect from a prawn. And the sauce, that acidic
Cuts
note
through,
comes
doesn't it? The acidity,
Absolutely.
the citric comes through
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah.
And a really nice melt away in the mouth as well from the co-texturizing starch.
Yeah, the sauce
Brilliant.
is absolutely spot on. Yeah, well done. Yeah. Well done
Great
to
work,
both of
team.
you. Yeah,
Great work for the
absolutely.
team. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.